Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and I should just check and make sure that I've got audio. Excellent. Been having a little bit of fun with my audio lately, haven't I? But I do believe everything is good at the moment, so let me know if that is not the case. It is Sunday here at the moment, 11:30 in the morning. Thank you to everyone for joining me. I'm going to say hello to everyone here, and then I'll just do quick little recaps here and there and everything. Hello Enzo Fitzhume, hello Thomas Armstrong, hello Quicksilver Oz, hello Steve from Mac84, hello Joe Williams, hello Gibbertronics, hello Mr. Tech Gadget, hello Apples Anonymous, hello Jeff, hello Robert Zerefa. And yes, someone did make mention there in the chat of Steve's Pippin live stream, which I unfortunately missed yesterday. I had a very busy day yesterday. I was out and about buying things, and then I was going and installing things, and by the time I didn't really sort of finish working till about sort of 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and the stream was all done. But it was, we've been hearing, in our little group chat with Steve, lots of stuff about this Pippin, and it was great to actually see a video finally happening. Sorry about the glare at the moment. The sun is just shining straight in this window at the moment, so it's making me very glary, so I apologise for that. It'll die down. So Pippin, wow. That was it's got to be one of Apple's best products they've ever produced. No doubt about that. I said to Steve once, I think I said to Steve, I might have just asked the group, what can you actually do with a Pippin? And I didn't really get a good answer. Foxhound 477, I think you might have got a typo there. I see the B is right next to the N, so that's cool. Nranchus Creations. Hello, I'm Nranchus. First thing I'm going to do is just turn on my heater because I'm bloody cold. It's cold down here at the moment. And so I just always like to do this on camera because sometimes it flares up and it makes good video. Does it more when I put a new can on it, but I think it's all fine. Throwing out some nice heat though, that's good. Cold, wintry cold. That's nice, on the legs there. So anyhow, I did not live stream last week, and I do apologise for that, people. That was because I was in Queensland. I had flown up to Brisbane for a family party. So I went up on the Saturday, I got home on the Monday. And so that just sort of pretty much wiped out my weekend for doing much of anything else. So I didn't do much of anything else. I did produce or release a video a little while ago, and it was my review of the re-release of Riven. So that was the rebuild of the game Riven, which is the point-and-click puzzle game, which I really enjoyed. I have to say, I really enjoyed playing it. I really love the graphics and the 3D and all that sort of junk. So I did basically give it a glowing review with a few caveats, which, of course, if you haven't seen the video, check the video out to see the caveats. On my phone, little letters. Fair enough, quite understand. Anyhow, last week couldn't live stream because of Brisbane. Then another interesting thing, so I basically have got a massive backlog of production schedule for videos. I have got to get some out. I've got one that's very close to finish. I have to wrap that up today, maybe get that out tomorrow. And then I've got one that's sort of partway through, and then I've got another review that I have to start on because a package just arrived at my door last week, courtesy of Creality. They have sent me a Halot Mage S 14K resin 3D printer. Now, I have never done any resin 3D printing before, but I'm very keen to give it a try. So this is going to be an interesting video because not only am I reviewing a product, I am ultimately discovering kind of a new hobby. So that's the plan. That's the, sort of going to start doing some resin 3D printing. I'm actually going to set the 3D printer up out here. It has a little outlet at the back for the fumes, and I can basically just pipe those fumes straight through the back of this shed, so it means that I won't have any of those fumes in here. The resin printers aren't ones you really want in the house because of the stank. unless you have some filtration, some sort of filtration in place. I could obviously hook it up to my Vevor Fume extractor if I wanted to, but it has two parts to it. The printer has two parts. It has the actual 3D printer itself, and then it has a washer and curer. So the separate one is that once you got the 3D printed done, you take the model, you pop it into the washer with alcohol, you wash all the excess resin off, and then you cure it. And so you cure it with UV light to make sure that any of that excess stuff is all solid. So, anyhow, the next review that I will have coming out is very soon will be on a thermal camera, another thermal camera. I was hesitant when they initially said, do you want to review this thermal camera? Because I was sort of like, well, I've already reviewed two. I mean, I don't want to become the thermal camera guy. But then I started thinking about it and I thought, well, both of my thermal camera reviews have actually done reasonably well. We've got pretty good view numbers. So I thought, well, maybe that's what people want to see. Maybe people are actually interested in different sorts of thermal cameras. This one has a very nice high resolution and a nice big screen. It's one of the handheld trigger units. It has a lot of pros, has a couple of cons, but they will be outlined in the review. And as I say, I do hope to try and get that wrapped up today. It's the things that take time on those is when you're demonstrating things like the menus and you're sitting there and you press this menu and you get that, and you get press this menu and you get that, and you're kind of having to talk people through it. Because when I make a review, I don't want to just say, hey, this is good. I want to give people enough information that they can look at it and say, yes, this is something I want to buy. I want to be almost a try before you buy type sort of thing. So I'm not just saying, hey, I like this and I didn't like that. I'm actually showing people how it works. You know, I walk people through how it actually works. So it gives someone an opportunity to say, oh, look, you know, he mentioned maybe some cons, but they're not going to affect me because I do this or I do that, you know, that sort of thing. So so that's what I'm going to be working on today. Okay, so I do have to go back and watch Steve's live stream on the recap because I am interested in the Pippin. I assume Steve gave us some background on the thing, some history would be nice. Yeah, so, but I guess I've just always wanted to know, I mean, is like, are there games for it? Are there games for it? I don't know. Did they ever get that far? I mean, even like Solitaire or some shit? I don't know. Okay, so today I'm going to be working on this SE30 reloaded board. I had a couple of different things I could have potentially done today. One of the main things I need to be doing is some diagnostics on some boards that have been sitting here for a long time. But one of the problems is that I didn't really get enough prep time to go in and hunt through and find the best one to work on, the one with the best chance of success, all that sort of stuff. Because I don't want to just be sitting here doing a live stream going, I wonder what the problem is. You know, I want to have ones where I've got a definite strategy, a definite, you know, plan of how I'm actually going to resolve a problem. And I didn't get the time to go in and do any of that. So I thought I got one of two things I could do. I could just do a straight recap, or I could work on this board. And I thought, well, yeah, work on this board and chinwag while I'm doing it. So let's just jump across to the top view and we'll have a look. So this is the board here, and as you can see, I've already done some work on it. And I did this work when I was doing one of my wine, and let me just, I just want to check the focus on this. Looks a little bit out. That's a bit better. So, yeah, I wish I could figure out why I get these little black spots in the left-hand corner here. It's almost like this lens is off to one side in relation to where the position of the CCD is, but I might need to investigate that, see if there is a way I can adjust it. Maybe it has a little adjustment, but anyhow, we'll worry about that another time. So this is the board here. This was kindly donated to the channel by Colin from This Does Not Compute. And one of the advantages of this, or disadvantages, depending on how you look at it, because I actually kind of like doing this, but it had pretty much all of the bird seed already in place. So all the capacitors and all the resistors were already in place, and these little diodes down here as well. What it didn't have in place were the inductors, which I have since put on, so all the inductors are now in place. So this side of the board is pretty much ready to go. And then on this side, in my wine and workshop, I did these. I can't remember if I did them in one sitting or two, probably 2, but I can't really remember. It's a while ago. And, you know, I just think it would be good to keep moving with this thing, try and get it happening. I'm planning to try and get all of the surface mounts done today, and then we can then start looking at the through hole and what strategy I'm going to use to get some of those off, because through hole stuff is a bit of a poops to get off, you know, as you know. I don't like it very much. So through hole, we've got here the CPU, we've got the ROM, we've got all these video ones here, all the junk. Right, so let's start whipping some stuff off, shall we? And I'm going to do that with my trusty hot air station. And I'm going to get a little bit of a heat shield here. Make sure I don't melt these RAM slots, because I probably will just reuse these RAM slots unless I can find ones, some spare ones that have metal clips, because I much prefer to stick ones with metal clips on. So what's everyone been up to lately, eh? Anyone got any interesting stories to tell? Of stuff they've been working on, or places they've been, or things and junk? Thank you for that, Foxhound477. There's lots of flux on this. I need to give it a clean. We'll talk about flux in a minute, because that will be a very important part of the next thing I do. I'm taking off the 6888888888882 floating point unit at the moment. There's a lot of repairs around here. I'm lifting these off a board with some pretty bad battery damage. And I had done a lot of repair on this, and I still wasn't able to get it working. Now, do I think I could probably get it working in time? Yeah. If I had enough time to spend on it, I could. But it just seemed to me a perfect candidate for doing this. You know, I mean, it's a board that doesn't work. It's a board that's battery damaged. Just do this, do this, do this. And I've got to finish Kai's board as well, that FX Reloaded. Well, I've got to stick a whole bunch more through-hole stuff onto it and get it back to him. I was listening to a little chat the other day between Kai and Bowl and I think a couple of other people, and they were saying that very few of the 2FX Reloaded boards have actually been built. Sorry, I moved this and then the solder hardened and it's got stuck to the board again. Not good, not good. Alright, let's get some of this old solder off. I'll flip across here to the microscope view. Scope. There we go. And then I've got to get myself some of this wickety whack. Solder wickety whack. Finally upgraded my router to a Unify Gateway Ultra. I now get 940 megabyte download on Wi-Fi. That's pretty good. To be honest, I haven't really checked what I get. I'm running a what do you call that thing? I'm not even sure what download I get on Wired here, to be honest. But I'm just going to do a quick speed test here. So settings, I'll make sure I'm on the right one. Yep. And we'll go here to speed test. So I'm using an Apple, what are those Apple airport thingies? The last one they made before they stopped making them. I'm getting about 500 at the moment. Just shy of 500 megabits a second download. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Ruggers Customs, hello there. One of the things I did yesterday was install a couple of security cams on my house. They're the sort of dome type where you can spin them around, you can zoom in and you can rotate and all that sort of stuff. So I've now got two. I mean, I've already had cameras. I mean, we know we've got cameras because every now and again I do this. And we see one of the cameras that I have. And we say hello to the chickens. They're off there in the background. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, I think. Yep, sitting there. And yeah, and then I've got another camera. I have had for a long time, had another camera down the side of the house so that if someone were to, walk through our back gate, they would immediately find themselves on camera. Then the other day I attached 2 more, so 2 facing out the front of the house. So we've got a nice view of the street. See all the comings and goings. Oopsie. There was a rather nasty incident here in this suburb about a week ago. That was not the motivation for me getting these cameras, but it's the cameras are more, for me, they're more about being able to check up on the house if I'm not here. The main thing I capture is neighbourhood cats walking around. Get lots and lots of captures of that. I've been to Micron Alarms and Security. I think it's just off Powers Road. Can't say I have. I used to go to Ness Security at which is on there was a Prospect Highway or whatever it's called. The alarm that I have in this house is actually a Ness alarm. And it's quite good. The only thing I don't like about them is they get a bit pissy if you go in there to buy stuff and you're not a licensed installer. I'm like, hey, why? Just sell it to me. I'm offering you money. And I've always been able to get them to sell me stuff, but I'm sort of like, why limit yourself like that? Idiots. Right. Righty. So, actually, we'll now keep the scope here. So, this is where we need to put it. This is our floating point unit location. One of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to smother it in flux. Now, who here can tell me which flux I like to use? Da-da-da. Yeah. Styri ASM, one of my favourite, my favourite flux. I just like using this. It is just so nice to use. Links in the description to the Styri store, and there is also a discount code if you want to buy some. It is good stuff. Doesn't have the 559 anymore. They ditched that. Now it's just Styri TF. Hello, Jay from the House of Moth. How are you today? I hope you are doing whoopsie daisy. Jay turns up just in time for me to start soldering without the fume extractor on. There we go. Fume extractor on. Now, what I'm doing at the moment is just tinning these pads, and then I'm going to remove a lot of the excess. But because these ones are gold, they're not pre-tinned, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. But you can buy these pre-tinned. Probably cost more, I don't know. And this is from one of those PCB manufacturers that I tend not to use that much. Extractor police is notified. Oh no, yes, I know. That's like, there was a big waft of smoke that came up, wasn't it? Damage is done. There we go. Right, and then we need to plonk this on. We have the dot downwards. And this is a PLCC chip, plastic leaded chip carrier, and we have a little dot, and that dot is pin 0, and that marries up with a dot, which is screen printed on the board, just via. Colin, hello there. Does it work yet? No, but I did get a bit of a head start on this one. I worked on this one on a couple of my wine and workshop live streams. So I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 surface mount chips on here. So we've definitely got a head start. And as I mentioned before, this was donated to the channel by Colin from This Does Not Compute. So thank you very much, Colin. And I've done all of the inductors on the other side as well, because the birdseed includes resistors, capacitors, and diodes, but it did not include. I was going to move this down a smidge. That's a metric smidge. Not. Yep, there we go. But it didn't include the inductors, so I put all the inductors on. It's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Okay, is that straight enough? Is it? Oh my goodness. Oh my word. No, that'll do. It's close enough. I think I'll be able to make it work. Jim's Retro Stuff, hello there. Oh, I accidentally turned the... We can do without it being at full crank. It's too noisy. Ghostly Lurker, hello. On the rare occasion we do camera installs in customers' houses, and that's who we use. They're great for the money. Yeah, so the cameras that I ended up buying, I got through a recommendation from Jay from the House of Moth. I basically said to him, look, I'm looking for an IP camera for my security system. What can you recommend? And he said, well, this one here, he said, look, the company is a bit dodgy in terms of their firmware updates, but the hardware is good. And they're pretty quick, and I have to agree, I've been very, very happy with them. I haven't done a firmware update yet, to be honest, but... God, these pads are too short. We're going to scream to the sky and go, ball! Ball! The originals of these, the pads stick out a lot further out the side, and they're a lot easier to work with when they stick out further. But these are really, really small. I just can't get the bloody solder sticking to them. Come on. Stick. You some bitch. Another one. There's two of them. Look at this. Is crazy. You have a look at this, and they are just not soldering. Okay, well that's one row. That took about 6 times longer than it should have. Yeah, and look. It's not technically Bowl's fault. So what happens with the way these work, when you are, God, that was out of focus, wasn't it? When you are when you're building these things in the software, what you do is you have a particular item, whatever it might be, your PLC chip of X amount of pins, and you drag it onto your design. And it automatically places the pads, and it automatically positions the pads for the item you're putting on there. And it's those, I guess, what would you call them? Bookmarked, sort of like, there's a word, but I can't think of it. But those ones where the design is in the software itself, and they just make those ones just make the pads too short. So in order to make the pads a better size, you have to go in and manually adjust them. And I can understand why that wouldn't end up happening. But all you have to do is compare these to an original, and you'll see just how much shorter the pads are. And it's only the PLCCs. Other ones seem fine. But I got a lot of strife on the 2FX board for this reason. When I built it, I went back and checked, and I had, I don't know, maybe 5 pads that hadn't soldered on these PLCCs, and just don't normally get that rate of failure. I think the solution is to just load it up with solder and then remove it afterwards when you have too much. Did I hear correctly that Richard Simmons died? Yeah, the solar. Colin, you're probably right. It is assuming they're going to be pick and placed rather than hand soldered, but still not good enough. Still not good enough. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And maybe these I'd be better off actually tinning the pads and then just putting them in position with hot air. Who's Doctor? I don't know who Dr. Ruth is, sorry, but I know the rest. I've got no idea who Dr. Ruth is, but yes, and Shelley Duvall, of course, has been, I think, mentally unwell for quite some time, so typically when people are mentally unwell, they don't really look after themselves, so I wasn't at all surprised to hear that she had passed away. Oh, far out. Doesn't help them, I'm a bit off here. Dr. Ruth, very famous in the 80s, is that? Dr. Ruth, famous for what? I lived through the 80s, so I am an 80s child, born in the 70s, but that meant, of course, I was raised in the 80s, you know, so for me, all of my sort of memories, I guess, of pop culture and stuff are from the 80s. I don't remember much from the 70s at all. God, I cannot believe that one is just not taking. This one is definitely the worst. I haven't had the same trouble with other chips on this board thus far. This is the worst one, without a doubt. This is worse than that even bigger one that I put on. The whatever that one was, this one here, the glue chip. I didn't have anywhere near as much trouble with the glue chip as I'm having with this. And yeah, you can actually see why. The pads stick out further on this one. See how much further these are away? They stick out the side of the pins there, whereas here, they're actually underneath them. This video, cleaning a power cable, not really exciting, but a dirty power cable, clean power cable, satisfying. Well, there you go. Why not? watched a series I really enjoyed just recently called Supercell. English series on Netflix. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. But yeah, I really liked it. I think it was only 6 episodes. I sure hope they bring out another series soon, because I am riveted. That one was better. This one was a lot easier because I think because of the way I positioned the chip, I had a little bit more pad poking out on this side. Alright, let's check this out and see how we go. They look alright, I don't see any bridges, they all look soldered. They're all soldered. I think they're all soldered. And the last one was a lot easier, or was that the really hard one? I think they're all soldered. I might have to check this more closely when I've cleaned it. Now, that's, I think, it for... Oh, no, I've got one more PLCC down here. UH7. Don't ask me what UH7 does, because I do not hold that sort of stuff in my brain pan. In my brain grapes. I mean, look how far these pads come out the side. Look it. Just look it. So much easier. Okay, that came off nice and easy. I think for all of these socketed chips, I'll check and see if I've actually got any spare sockets. It'll be easier to just stick new ones in than try and get those old ones off. Afternoon, Paul. I am not on daylight savings time, no. So if you look up in the very top left-hand corner, you'll see 12:03 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. If it was daylight savings, it would be DT. So yes, it is. It has just gone afternoon here, just that very moment. Once again, for anyone who is just joining recently, I do apologise that I did not do any live streaming last week. I was in Brisbane, the capital of Queensland, Australia's second biggest state. It's where we put all our old people. That's not entirely true. It was a little chilly while I was up there. I'm ashamed to go to Brisbane in winter, but I suppose, you know, I was up there for a party, and that was when the party was. So what are you going to do? But it was nice. And I've got to tell you, one thing I like about Brisbane, their airport is bloody brilliant. Our Sydney airport is awful. Just awful. Brisbane is like, oh yeah, this is how an airport should be. It was so easy to get there. Anyhow. I get a little bit annoyed at the roads in Brisbane, though. Old people should really are younger than you. Yes, I know. It's yeah, one of the things that I found very frustrating about some of the motorways when I was up in Brisbane compared to the ones here, there'd be times when you would be coming to a section where the road was kind of splitting. Now, here in Sydney, if you are on a motorway and, you know, there's like an exit to go somewhere else, it's very clear to see which is the exit and which is the road, just staying on the road. But there are a lot of motorways when I was up there where the road just like forks in two. It splits off, goes off to the right one way, it goes off to the left the other way. 2 lanes splitting off right, 2 lanes splitting off left. And the GPS is no help to you. The GPS just says, stay on this road. And you're like, stay on which road? It splits in two. I don't know which is the main one, and which one is the which is the exit to a different road, and which is me staying on the main one. Got caught out by that a couple of times, ended up going the wrong way. Very frustrating. Alrighty, let's have a look here and see. I mean, I can see bridges, but it's more about whether they're all soldered in. Looking good, just need to get rid of some of that excess. But we stayed at a place called The View, Brisbane, right opposite Brisbane River, and that was lovely. And of course, there's a beautiful walking path around there as well, so you can just, you know, I was just able to cross the road and walk along this path going along next to the river. And it is a beautiful river. And they did a pretty shitty breakfast, I've got to say, but their dinner was nice. They did nice pizzas. Because we stayed at a place that had a restaurant, so that if we were like, oh God, you know, convenience, we just need convenience, we just want to eat locally. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice. And of course, because it's like, you know, oh, I'll tell you what did get me about Brisbane. Couldn't believe this. We needed to buy some groceries on Sunday. All the friggin' groceries shops shut at 6. At 6. I'm like, what the hell, man? At 6. Have to be a little insane to drive around Brisbane. We also popped up just for a little visit, just for the day, up to Moreton Bay. That was beautiful. I really like that. There's a big old wharf thingy there, jetty. Big old jetty. And we walked along that. That was really nice. It was very pleasant. Actually, really enjoyed that. And lovely, lovely homes up there. I mean, in Queensland, there is a particular style of home called a Queenslander. And there are lots of them in Queensland. And they are beautiful to look at. Just the, you know, the balconies on them and the timber and up on the stilts and everything like that. Really did like seeing that. I think my wife wants to move there. I'm not ready. Huh. It's not. Is it since COVID? Wow. Okay. The way it is here, the supermarkets are basically open until midnight on weekdays, and I think it's until 9 p.m. on Sundays, something like that. And I tell you, I'd be lost without that, because I like to go shopping at all weird and wonderful times. Oh, well, so here in Sydney, Kmart is open 24 hours, and that was, I'm sure they stopped that during COVID, but they're back to normal now. So Kmart's still open 24 hours. Dan Murphy's, of course, they're the alcohol chain. They're open till 9, I think. But they were shut too. They shut too early as well up in Queensland. That amazed me. I mean, you know, not being able to buy alcohol, that's just terrible. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I get used to it, I suppose. Oh, and of course, Bunnings, good old Bunnings is open until 9 as well, but they close at 7 on Sundays. So, right, we're going to move some of these other things across. How do these all look? Oh, I think these are all new ones. Yeah, these are all new ones that I've replaced. So I'm not going to I'm going to just keep them. Let's start with this little teeny weeny little fella here. What's this little guy? TLO71B. Yes, we definitely have Kmart here. I don't know what Kmart is or was like in the US, but here Kmart is sort of like a discount variety store. So they've got clothes, kitchen stuff, sports stuff, toys, sweets, you know, that sort of stuff. And Kmart actually was one of those places that was kind of disappearing into irrelevance. And then they did a big revamp here a while ago where they did things like said, we're now open 24 hours. And they started stationery, they have that as well. They started expanding their range into certain areas. They were obviously just focusing on the stuff that was successful. And more importantly, the stuff there is cheap. Really cheap. A lot of it's rubbish and I'd rather not buy it, but this stuff is really cheap. And of course that does very well in times of, when people are feeling the pinch financially. Whether it's right or wrong, that is something that does very well. And so Kmart have actually been doing really well here, interestingly enough. And for those who may or may not be aware of this in the US, but if you ever come to Australia and you want a Whopper, don't bother looking for a Burger King. They're not called Burger King out here. They're called Hungry Jacks. So there you go. There's my little tip for anyone travelling to Australia. So the main variety stores that we have here in Australia are Big W, Target, and Kmart. Target's been struggling a bit lately, I think, from stuff that I've read. I'll tell you the most amazing thing is that with the Kmart's being open 24 hours, I guess the latest I've probably ever been to a Kmart is maybe midnight or something like that. What always gets me is how many freaking people are there. I'm sort of like, I would have thought this place would just be empty, but no, stacks of people in the middle of the night at Kmart. And I have it on good authority that it's actually a hookup place sometimes too. People go there at night to meet people. Who would have thunk it, eh? Where's that, Gibatronics? Epping in Victoria, okay. Yeah. So where I am in Western Sydney, there is a large shopping mall pretty close to where I am. I mean, I can actually walk there. It's a long walk. It's maybe half an hour walk for me to get there. And they have a Big W and they have a Target inside the mall. Across the road from the mall is a Kmart, and the Kmart actually has even its own big car park. So that can sometimes be an incredibly convenient thing as well, because you don't have to go into the mall to go to the Kmart. And where that might be an advantage is maybe at times when it's really, really busy, Saturday morning shopping or Thursday night shopping, or even if you're getting around Christmas time or Mother's Day or Father's Day or something like that, where you know the parking in the mall is going to be pretty manic. You can go into the Kmart and you can shop in there. And sometimes people end up parking in the Kmart parking spot and then walking across to the mall, so they don't have to deal with the stupid behaviour in the mall. Because there is something about people parking in malls where the behaviour is not very good. What's that? We've got 253, 253, 253, 253, and 2, 3, 4, 4 253. So let's just take them all off, shall we? I watched a little documentary type show last night about Chickadee, some sort of chicken shop there in the US. Chickadee, and there was another one called Popeye or something. These are all foreign names to me. I don't really know them because we don't have them out here. What I always find fascinating whenever I watch those shows about American fast food is the concept of a chicken sandwich. And that is just not what we say here. We don't say chicken sandwich, we say chicken burger. So if you have something in between burger buns, so it's the name of something is dictated by the buns you put it in. So if it's a burger bun, so like a round bun sort of thing, and you put something in it, it's a burger. It doesn't matter whether you put chicken in it, or beef, or pork, or tofu, or fish. No matter what you put inside it, if it's in a burger bun, it's a burger. So chicken burger, fish burger, beef burger, whatever the case may be. Whereas in America, if it's not beef, it becomes a sandwich, regardless of what bun you put it in. And then here, if you put it in a long roll, like something you get at Subway, it then becomes a roll. So it's not a sandwich anymore, it's a roll. So again, the name is dictated by the bun you put it in, or the bread you put it in. So if it's meatball, it's a meatball roll. So that's just sort of how it works here. What have you missed, Foxhound? You've missed nothing of real importance. At the moment, we've just been rabbiting on about Kmart. The mall by me has slowly been consumed by a casino and attempting to become a strip mall. That's no good. Yeah, I mean, malls are pretty important out here. I mean, I don't really know of any malls that have failed. I'm sure there have been some in some locations where they put them in silly spots, but here where I am in Sydney, this is the sort of capital of New South Wales type thing, big city. There are lots of malls, and I mean I think they're all doing incredibly well. The big owner of malls here is Westfield. So most of the malls in Sydney are Westfield malls. They have their pluses and their minuses, I mean, it's great to have all those things nice and close nearby. But the downside, of course, is that, at times, like I was saying before, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, that sort of stuff, they get just so crazy busy. You end up finding secret ways of trying to get in and out. Our closest mall is actually near a train station, and on weekends that train station parking is usually fairly vacant. So what my wife and I will often do is we'll actually go park at the train station and then walk into the mall, so we don't have to go into the parking lot. Because I'll tell you what, on those sorts of days, when it's like it's in the lead up to Christmas or something like that, talk about aggro in the parking lots. Man, you just go out and walk around the parking lot, listen to all the horns bipping and stuff like that. Aggro. Can do without that. District Docklands in Melbourne is what I would call a zombie shopping mall. Interesting. People are getting mean and hateful. Look, this is very easy for me to say being an older person, but one of the things I find amazing these days is the poor level generally of retail service. Now, I know that's not always the case, and when I do actually see good quality retail service, I will often comment on it and I will give that person a compliment because it's so rare to see. I used to work in retail when I was very young. I was only 16 or 17. I worked in retail for a while, and I was very, very green to start off with, no doubt about that. But I learned stuff from the staff, and I learned how to behave, what to do, all that sort of stuff. And it amazes me that so many times when I go into retail stores these days, I can't believe how poor the service is. I'll give you an example. Here's a classic example. Charlie, hello there. When you walk into a store, and let's say there's only one or maybe two staff members and there are quite a lot of customers in there, it is very important, even if you're unable to see to a customer because you're with another customer, it's very important to acknowledge other customers. If it's just they're browsing, that's fine. But if they actually look like they need help, and you're with another customer, it's a very, very important thing to acknowledge that you have seen that customer and they are on your radar. So to just have that couple of seconds saying, my apologies, I will see to you as soon as I've seen to this customer, something like that. That goes such a long way to a customer experience. And I kind of, I get very annoyed when I see that, because that's something that's very easy to teach someone. It really doesn't take much at all to teach someone how to deal with those sorts of situations. If you're in a situation, if a staff member is seeing to a customer and that customer is taking a long time, they're wanting to check lots of different things, they're this and that, and so you're going to be stuck with that customer for a while, and then you see someone standing there with an item at the checkout ready to pay for it. You can say to that, you can turn around to that person and say, did you just want to pay for that? And if they say, no, I'd also need to ask you some questions, you say, okay, I'll see to you as soon as I see with this customer. But if they are saying, yes, I just want to pay for this, you can then turn back to the customer you're with. You say, can you excuse me just for a minute, and I'll just sort this customer out, and then pay for it. A couple of seconds, then you go back to the original customer. There are so many tricks that I learned during retail, so that you can share yourself around, keep everyone happy, even if you're understaffed, and there are lots of people in there. And the number of times I've gone into shops and just been ignored, and it's just not good enough. Are they being paid well enough to motivate them? Well, the minimum wage isn't too bad out here in Australia, so I mean, job is a job. I'm not saying it's money that you can retire on, but in particular for young people that are just starting off in life, I mean, we all worked in low-paid jobs when we were young. It's no excuse to do a shit job. I mean, my very first job, I was paid like crap, but I didn't see that as an excuse to be awful to people. Whoopsie. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that if you're, someone who's 50 years old and working in retail and hating every second of it, then okay, yep, you're going to be a grumpy. But if you are someone who is young, starting out, and this is your stepping stone to your next job, I don't know. I mean, you have to be pretty bloody entitled to think that, you're supposed to be getting paid a lot of money straight out of the gates. You start off on low money, you work hard, you get better, you learn skills. Next job you have, you'll be able to get paid more. I used to have to do some of the most boring, slow, repetitive, tedious stuff in sort of my early jobs when I was very young. But I didn't look at that with resentment. It's like, this is me. This is the start of my career. I don't know as much as these people around me, so I get to do the crap jobs. And then I got better at things, and I developed systems, and then I was able to then move up and get someone young working for me, and then they got to do all the shit stuff. It's just the way of the world. How it works. And you make a really interesting point there, Charlie, because you're working in an area, if you're working in a butcher, you are competing with Woolworths and Coles, because obviously companies like Woolworths and Coles are dominating butcher. A lot of people are going to Woolworths and Coles to get their meats because they're convenient, they're open long hours, all that sort of stuff. If you're a retail butcher and you're not part of Woolworths and Coles, what you have to compete with is your service. And this is the thing I've always said. I mean, if you are planning to take on a business that is, that Woolworths or Coles do, then you have to provide something better. You have to provide something that they're not providing. And when it comes to things like butchery, service is one of them. Salespeople in places like Harvey Norman that won't leave you alone. It's funny. I mean, sometimes they do. Sometimes they are like that. Sometimes they're not. I remember I went to a shop once, just a little tiny shop, just like a street front type thing. And it's kind of like a shop that sells everything, everything you can possibly think of, like a junk shop type thing, just every single thing. And I went in there with my wife one time. We just wanted to have a quick look because we were on our way somewhere. And the owner of the shop, literally followed us around the shop the whole time we were looking. And maybe he was worried we were going to steal something. He might have been providing his own security. But I got to tell you, that really motivated us to leave. All right, so I have done the entire row of, UX8. So that's all these little geezers along here. Let's just go top view. It's all those ones there. These are the ones we know always run into strife because of leaky capacitors around here and here. So that's pretty good. And now we've got to do all of these little jiggawazzers. So let's move on to those now. This thing here is... Oh, I'll just change to the scope view. Sorry about that. This thing here is a Bonds resistor. Or a resistor net. It's 102, which means that's the resistance, but I'm not sure what that is. These will go brown when you hit them with hot air, but they still work. Now, I've made this joke before, but maybe people were not here before. They didn't hear the joke. I'm not sure, so I'm going to say the joke again. The thing about Bonds resistors, which you'll always find, is that they forget who they are. and then it turns out that they are highly trained killers. It's not a very funny joke, but it's making a joke about born identity. Yeah. Joke needs a little bit more work, don't you reckon? I'm just putting this the right way up. He's got no mark on this to show which one. Oh, yes, he does. He's got the little curve there to show that's pin 1. Good. Focus. I find, I guess one of the things that I go, I'm going from one side to the other here. You know, I do believe that, you know, sort of retail should be friendly and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, people also have to respect privacy. When someone is trying to be over-friendly and starts asking me things like, what's in store for the weekend? My general reaction to that is, none of your fucking business. I know that they're just trying to be friendly, but I sort of feel like there's a line. You know, I'm not necessarily wanting to be someone's buddy. I don't mind someone saying something like, how's your day been? Fine, you know. There's this one lady at a supermarket that I used to go to all the time, and she had the same reaction every time I go in there. She'd be like, busy day? I'd be like, yeah, it's always busy. And I don't mind that, but on the whole, when people start asking questions about, you know, what I've been up to or what I have planned or something like that from someone I really don't know, I'm generally just like, yeah, no, you're trying too hard, buddy. I can tell you what my plans for the weekend are because you're a friend of mine. There's a different story. And I'm glad that Jay is here for the live stream because Jay does have a tendency to badger me about live streaming. So when I do actually end up live streaming, I like to see that he's here. Because otherwise, when he badgers me, I can say, "You don't ever turn up. Why ask me?" So anyone who has joined recently, just another quick mention of the fact that I released a video, which is actually doing very well at the moment. I released a video earlier in the week about the remake of the game Riven, which I played and really enjoyed, and quite enjoyed doing the review as well. That one kind of jumped the queue with what I'm working on, but I did that because I considered it to be something a little bit time sensitive because the game had just been released. So I wanted to get that one out in a timely fashion, so I jumped across and did that. I did a really, really rough one. I initially started off as just first impressions of the new Riven, and I recorded it, and it was shit. And I sent a link to it to my US friends that I'm in contact with all the time, specifically Jay, Dana, and Steve, Mac84. And speaking of Dana, where's Dana? Come on, Dana. And I don't think any of them watched it, which is probably good because it was pretty crap. So I was just playing the game, a little bit of the game, and just talking about it as I played it. And then Jay said, "Have you compared it with the original Riven?" And I said, no, this is just a bit of a walkthrough. He's like, "Oh, you really should compare it with the original Riven." And anyhow, I ended up watching the video back, and I thought, this is rubbish. I really do need to make a proper review. So at that point, I then decided, you know what? I'm going to play the whole game. I'm going to play the whole game, and I'm going to screen capture while I play the whole game so that I can then go in and choose from little bits of footage from wherever, do a proper review, talk about it properly, you know, really make it more sort of substantial, make it more comprehensive. And I was pretty happy with it in the end. And as I say, it did go quite well with the views. For me, I mean, I think it's had about 5,000 views, something like that. So for me, that's pretty good in this time frame. Most of the videos I release don't come out of the gates particularly well. They tend to sort of hang around and build up views slowly. But this one did go quite well at the beginning. It was riveting. I do actually think, this just jumping back to what we talked about with retail before, I do actually think that everyone should at least spend some of their professional life working in retail, because I think there are valuable skills that can be learned which just help out just in general. Like, for instance, this is something that I thought would be easy, but I found it incredibly difficult, maybe because of shyness or something like that. But when I very first started working in retail, when someone walked into the shop, I kind of struggled with approaching them. I was kind of like wanting to just keep to myself and not approach them. But of course, you know, it's what you have to do. It's your job in retail. And learning to do that easily, just walk up to someone and say, do you need some help there? Whoops. Let's go. Oh, bloody keyboard. When I put the board down, onto the keyboard. I'm going to move the keyboard so it doesn't have... It obviously did a quick key. So sorry about that, everyone. Not sure where I was up to, but let me know if I was telling something interesting that you want to hear the end of. Yeah, so basically what happened was I picked up the board that I was taking the components off, and I plonked it down over here, and I plonked it on top of the keyboard, and it bumped a quick key to make it change to a different view. And then I just sort of looked up, and I see live stream starting shortly. I'm thinking, what? If Boeing is going to try and use its space capsule soon? That's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. I can tell you that for my trip up to Brisbane, I flew on a Boeing 737 in both directions. On the way up, we had one that had little USB chargers in the seat. On the way down, it didn't have little USB chargers in the seat. And the irony of that was that on the way up, all of my devices were charged, and on the way down, they weren't. MacMan142, hello there. I will read your comment as soon as I remove this little Bourne's resistor. How you overcame the shyness approaching customers in retail. I'm not sure that I necessarily overcame it. It was more just it sort of, after doing it once or twice, you know, because you have to do it. You've got to do it. I mean, you know, there are people standing there going, you know, Bruce, there's a customer over there. Bruce, there's a customer over there. And so you have to go up and do it. And then after you've done it a couple of times, it becomes a lot easier. And I remember I went to a car show once, and we were in a tent. We had a tent representing our car club, and there were some flyers. We had a desk, and there were some flyers on the desk, and so we were sort of representing our car club. And a couple of times people came up, grabbed the flyer, and then sort of stood there. And I was sort of watching everyone, and they were just kind of pretending like the person wasn't standing there. And I was sort of thinking, that's exactly how I sort of felt when I very first started retail. I struggled, even though I know that person is there wanting some assistance, I struggled with just going in and approaching them. And I watched this, in this tent at this car club event, and I was thinking, that's how I felt. And that's one of the reasons why I think a little bit of retail in your career can help with things like that. Because, that person is looking for some assistance. You've got something that they want. He's seen our big tent for the car club. He's seen our flyers. He wants to ask some questions. You see it. You just walk up. Hey, g'day. How can I help you? That sort of thing. You just get better at that. And it just takes practice. And as I say, that's why I think it's a good idea for everyone to at least do a small stint in retail at some stage in their life. But that's just my opinion. Yeah. But at least if you work for Apple, you get to be called a genius. Hated that title. It is kind of, it's a silly term to be thrown about, isn't it? I mean, ultimately. Still, you didn't get to choose it. Can help with interpersonal relationships within a company. I agree. Also dealing with disgruntled customers that have an issue with something. That's a really good thing to learn as well. Acknowledging, what the issue is, and then offering some sort of solution. In between jobs, that's no good. I'm sorry to hear that, Macman. It's not a good position to be in. But, I am sure you will find something. I'm going to do this diode up here now. Only because I hate them. I hate these diodes. So they roll off the board. Ah, crap, just like that. Which way around does it go? That's the line there, isn't it? Yep. Poop. Poopskis. Poopskis. D3. Now, if I remember rightly, this diode is the one that protects the termination power for SCSI. Yeah, I think sometimes, change of jobs can sometimes make you consider, is this really what I want to do? I want to do something else. I got fairly lucky in life that I ended up working in a fairly monotonous job, but it was a job that had lots and lots of different aspects to it. And I, over time, learned lots of the different aspects. And so it meant that during my time there, I managed to pick up lots and lots and lots of different skills. and that was very handy. I started off initially just doing things like pre-press, old-fashioned way, by the way, and then sort of more and more stuff being done with computers. Whoa, crap! And then I started doing stuff with, sort of web, and then I started doing stuff with multimedia. I started doing stuff with 3D graphics, photography, videography. And there were just lots and lots of different things that I was doing in that job, which then allowed me to sort of pick up lots and lots and lots and lots of different skills. And programming, of course. And because I used to do a lot of stuff at home as well. When I started teaching myself HTML at home. And so when we started getting some web-based inquiries at the company I was working for, I was able to say, yes, I know how to do that because I've been teaching myself that at home. Education never stops. And you should never think that. I mean, if you've gone in and you've learned, you've got some skills or you've got some education or some qualifications or something like that, it should never just be like, yep, I've learned it and that's it. Now I move on. Learning is something that happens constantly learning new skills, constantly adapting. Having watched people from a trade refusing to reskill themselves and then them finding themselves without a job. Now, I sympathise with these people. They have learned particular skills and then those skills become irrelevant because they all get computerised. But if you're not there learning the next phase, and if you're working for a company and you're one of, 3 employees, and one of them starts learning how to do this stuff on the computer but you don't, when it comes time for them to get rid of someone, you know which one's going, don't you? Joe, how dare you? Sorry, you haven't really missed that much. I've just been sticking things on this board. That's all. In IT, 17 years of printing, pre-press and design company. Not convinced I want to stay in IT and I want to do something else. Yeah, I can understand that. I worked in IT, like as in just pure IT for a while. So it was like technical support. It was a Mac technical support company. And we used to drive out and do on-location support. And even though for me it was in many ways a dream because I like doing tech stuff, I hated not going into an office. I hated being on the road. I hated working in someone else's office, that sort of thing. I really didn't like the on-location aspect of that. Paul's on his 3rd trade. How about that? I've told this story before, and I'm going to tell it again. And people who have heard it before, just jump into the chat and let me know you've heard this one before, just in case. But I was doing a little bit of web work for the company I was working with. Really basic stuff. So just, old-fashioned HTML1 type stuff. This is a long time ago. With, you're essentially, it's almost like you're building your website was almost just like a digital business card back then. Put a few pictures, contact details, that sort of crap. And then someone actually came into our company asking for a website to be built with very specific requirements. And namely, they wanted to have it linked up to a database. So they needed to have a database of information that could be edited, but was then available on the website as well. And that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. The idea of storing information in a database or passing information from one page to another, and that was when and interestingly enough, it was a website for dog sperm. So it was purebred dogs sperm. So if you wanted to go on and find, like if you had a female dog and you wanted to find male to mate with it to then make more purebreds, then making sure that it wasn't too closely genetically linked to your own one, there's a database for that. So dog sperm. And so it was at that point I realized, well, no, I've got no idea how to do something like that. I have to figure that out. And so I did some research about linking databases and server-side code and that sort of stuff. And they all, at that time, this would have been in the 90s, I guess, they all led me towards PHP and MySQL. That was the thing. That was the most popular option back then. And so I went and got myself a book. I got myself a big book of learning PHP and MySQL. And that was it. The website never ended up happening, by the way. No dog sperm website ever ended up happening. But I learned how to use PHP and MySQL for a database from that. And the rest is history, Still using PHP today. I've learned a lot since then. It makes me laugh when I look at some of my old websites and how crude they were. But that's just how it goes, isn't it? Looking at old code, is very embarrassing for programmers. So anyone out there who's not a programmer, when you get better and you get more, sophisticated about the way you kind of code things, and it's really quite embarrassing when you go back and see some of your old code. You think, oh my goodness, I could have done this so much better. These chips that I'm removing at the moment are RAM multiplexer chips. You'll find these sorts of RAM multiplexer chips on a few of the old Macs. Thankfully, all of these chips, these ones here, as you can see, this is F258. So you can see there, F258 AD. These chips are all still readily available. Do you still do website work? I do, absolutely. That's my main profession. Now, keeping in mind that I do very specialised website work. I always put that caveat in because when I say, oh, I'm a web developer, and the next thing you know, someone comes along and says, oh, look, my friend owns a restaurant and they're looking for someone to build a website for them. And that I just sort of generally say, no, that's not me. I can probably point you in the direction of someone that might be able to help you, but that's not what I do. I do usually integrations or building of systems. So this is crooked. It's crooked. No, not really. These days there are so many tools out there that people can just do this stuff themselves anyway. I generally tell them to go look at that first. But I'll give you an example of one of the things that I've built is I built a system for a healthcare company. So it's a company that does, they provide health care to people. So they have workers, and then they have what they refer to as participants or patients or whatever, the people who need the care and the people who give the care. And I have developed a system for the care workers so that they know what jobs they have on. So first of all, they get to see all of the jobs they have coming up, and they get to confirm whether they can do the job. So they can see what their roster is for the next fortnight. And then they can look at them all and go, yes, I can do that, yes, I can do that, yes, I can do that. Oh, no, I can't do this one because I've got a dentist appointment. So they'll say, no, I can't do this one. And that then goes into their system and it says, okay, we need to find someone else to fill this job. So they go through and confirm what they're going to do, and then when it comes to the time, they then see what they're going to do. They know what is required of them on that day. And then if it's a shift, sometimes with their shifts, they're not specific hours. They'll turn up for maybe 3 hours, and then they don't need to do anything else, and then they can go home. But they're left kind of like an open slate of the day, of your start and your finish time. So on those shifts, it comes up and just they have to select what time they started and what time they finished. So I've got all that, and then that all then goes in at the end, and the workers get paid based on how many hours they've worked. So there's a system I've got like that. I built another system which regrettably is not getting used. I did it for a company, and then relatively soon after building it, the guy sold his company, and the new company had their own system and didn't want to use the one that I created. But it was one for a security company. So this is a security company that drive around in a security van and pick up wads of cash from shops or from wherever. So they turn up at a place or a club or a pub or a bar or something like that, and they'll turn up at a place and they will pick up a big bag of cash or whatever. And I'll sometimes also take them money for tills, with breakdowns of lots of different money and stuff. And they'll take the money and put it onto a van. They're all armed people. And then and the system would tell them, my system would show them where they needed to go next with Google Maps, would bring up the location where they needed to go, with also an explanation of what it is they're going to be picking up, and then everything had to have specific tags, for security purposes, make sure no one's stealing anything. So they scan the tags in and they get recorded. But more importantly, what it used to do is it used to keep a tally of how much money was in the van. So if they get to a point where they get over a threshold of how much cash is in the van, it would then tell them their next stop needed to be a bank to deposit it or to hand it over to a bank. So, yeah. Hello, Christ Flare. Hello, K-Mac Vintage. So anyhow, that's enough for me of rabbiting on about the things that I build in build websites. Oh, and of course, the other thing is a very big part of is rewards programs. I built a rewards program system, where people earn points when they spend money. And that's probably one of the main things that I'm working on these days. It amazes me that people still love their points, even in this day and age. It's been going on for so long. People love accumulating points. They love it. I mean, if something goes wrong and they don't earn their points, mate, you're going to hear from them. I didn't get my points. I just spent $200 and I didn't get points. Can you please give me my points? Oh, my points. They're my points. Point 5, hello there. We're actually getting pretty close to, I think, the end of all the surface mount components, apart from the capacitors, which I might do next because I've got them. So I think, let me just check this thing. Oh no, there's 2 more down here. Got do damn. We'll do these 2, and then I think that's it for the surface mount. Unless you want to include the, what do you call those things? Fuses. Not sure what I'm going to do about fuses on this, because these fuses are really hard to relocate. Because when you hit them with hot air, they fall apart. We'll see. HDMI output analog PSU replacement. Awesome. That sounds cool. Where did I see someone doing that? Saw a video of that somewhere. Who was it? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Has getting into electronics helped you to understand programming better or vice versa? I suppose there's a crossover with some of this stuff. One of the most, one of the things I've said about programming is if you want to learn to program, I can teach you to program in a day. Well, actually, way less than that. Within like an hour, I can have you writing a program. But what takes time, one of the things that you get better at and you refine as you do more of it is bug fixing. When something's not working the way it's supposed to, figuring out why, figuring out where the fault is, that's something that takes sort of experience and time to get really good at. And that, of course, then means you program faster, because when you find faults quickly, it's better for everyone. I program very fast, by the way. Having said that, I probably cut a few corners from time to time, but I work in a fairly, what's the word they use for it? In an environment where I am usually required to get things happening fast, getting things up and operational quickly. So I do that. Roger Salter, hello there. I think you misspelt it there, Roger. Let's see if we can get this off. And this, I believe, other than the capacitors, I believe this is the last of the surface mount components on this board. I've said that twice now, but I believe this really is the last. Yes, it was Ron. Yes, I remember seeing. I don't even remember where I saw it, but it was Ron. Was showing that a little power supply type thing. I want someone to produce a drop-in replacement analog board for an SE or an SE30 that will then allow you to plug in a, whatever it is, 9-inch, 7-inch, 9-inch, whatever, HDMI LCD. So basically what you have your logic board in the bottom, and you have your analog board, and you just take the analog board out, you take the CRT out, you drop in a new analog board. That analog board provides power supply for the logic board. It also provides an HDMI out so that you can then just connect a liquid crystal screen. You can put a liquid crystal screen in place of the CRT. I'd pay for that. Right. So I think I probably may as well do the caps now, and then that's all of the surface mount stuff. I can't imagine I'm going to get into any strife, sticking those caps on now. What would you say is the perfect airflow and temperature to set on the heat gun removing surface mount chips? Now, that's not necessarily an all-in-one question, because some components, in particular if they're high up on the board, some components have a larger surface area for getting hit with the air. So you can be hot airing them, and then the amount of force of the air actually ends up blowing the component off the board. Other components that are sort of low down, you can hit them with a huge amount of air and they don't go anywhere. So, but what I can tell you is I have two different settings on my hot air station. One of them is with the temperature at 435 C, and with the air on this thing at 100%. And that's what I use for removing components. When I'm putting new components down, I will sometimes... Sorry. Saw something that looks like a bridge. No, it's just a bit of grit. When I'm putting new components down, sometimes I'll use that setting, but if they're smaller components or they're components that might get blown off the board, I have one where it's about the same temperature, maybe a tiny bit hotter, but I have it down to, I think it's about 50 or 60% of the air coming out of the station. Because keep in mind, that is for this station. The amount of airflow does vary. This is probably similar to that, a 10 unit in terms of the amount of airflow. But of course, keeping in mind that some other hot air stations, they have the fan inside the handle and they often don't produce as much airflow. Oh, Foxhound, bye-bye. Sorry, didn't see that. Happens when spell check does not read my mind. That was just what happened. Well, it was a word, I think. I don't know. Is it a word? Assignation? I don't know. Maybe. The act of assigning something? All right, let's get some... Oh, I got these diodes, but no, these... Actually, I won't worry about putting those diodes on yet. They're just for the battery. So we can put those on a little bit later. Am I going to use Y1 off this? Oh, well, this is a new Y1. So yes, I will use Y1 off this. And I've got my real-time clock here. Oh yeah, let's do the caps. Let's do the caps. We know how to do caps. SMT Tantalums #1. With all my beautiful capacitors behind me on a shelf here, it makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to be putting a new thing here soon behind me, where you see these vertical boards. These boards are now going to start getting stored somewhere else. And what is going to be sitting here from now on is going to be a resin 3D printer. So, something to look forward to, eh? We've got a little one here. What's this one? This is 1 microfarad 50. Yep, and all the rest are 47s, I think. Yep. So, 1 microfarad 50. Okay, let's see if we can get this happening. It's going to be nice big pads for this 1 microfarad 50. I might actually stick a bigger component on there so it doesn't look so silly. And I'll make sure it is the same one. That is... Oh, crap, I can't read that. It's been scraped off. C6. Oh, we'll assume it's right. I'm just assuming at this stage that Bol hasn't changed the location of any of these components, that they're still in the same spot. Polarity's certainly the same. I think it's this board. I think it's the SE30 board where every capacitor, the surface mount and the electrolytics on the front are all facing positive in the same direction. Pretty sure it's this board. Don't do resin in the same place you work. The fumes can be overwhelming. Well, there is something I have to say about that, Mr. K-Mac. Will. The resin printer that I'm putting in here has a little filter inside, and then it has an outlet out the back, a little hole outlet at the back. And then they provide a little hose that you can stick on the outlet at the back because it has a fan that sucks air out. And this shed is just galvanized metal. And what I'm thinking of doing is drilling a hole in the back of the shed for that hose to go out so that the fumes will get sucked outside. That's my plan. If it's not a good plan, please let me know, because that's my plan. So there will be videos on my socials and all my things and that about me doing resin printing, because I've never done resin printing before, so I'm going to be learning it with a new product, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's the precision that I'm very interested in. The precision of the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh crap! Just went in the wrong place. 2, 3. 2, 3. You still have time coverage off and resin hardening, resin handling. Yeah, but I mean, look, it's this room is fairly well ventilated. I've got nowhere else to put it. Basically, simple as that. How can I move my IDHD running Mac OS 8.5 to an SSD disk? Having trouble getting that done. So you're planning to use an SD disk on one of those little IDE things? I would suggest the simplest way to do it would be to image the drive. I mean, one of the advantages of OS 8.5 is that you can actually just drag and drop everything. So if you were to format, if you were to get the SD drive and then you were to put it in one of those IDE adapters and then have that connected to the computer as the slave, so you know how you have the master and the slave? So you could technically have both the drives running at the same time on that computer and then just drag and drop all of the content across. Because the IDE SD devices are really inexpensive. You have to make sure you get ones that are going to work with the computer that you're using, but they are very, very inexpensive. But yeah, I would just try and run both on that computer, that same computer, and just do a drag and drop copy. That's what I'd be inclined to do. CF to you'll see CF to ID is a great match because CF is just ID with different pins. If what I've been told is correct, Compact Flash basically just use IDE. So changing an IDE to a Compact Flash is just a matter of using a pin adapter. Whereas SD, it has to go through some sort of convertery dirtery doodly doodle. Oh, well, I have been misinformed. But of course, Compact Flash is quite expensive these days because they've become almost like, Pro Tools, professional tools for, photographers and stuff like that. So Compact Flash, I mean, the Compact Flash in my camera, because I have a Canon 7D, EOS 7D, I use a, sneeze. Went away. I have a Compact Flash to SD card adapter that I use inside my SD and my 7D because I just Compact Flash just become a little bit tedious. But anyhow, you can get Compact Flash to IDE, but you can also get SD card to IDE, and because these are things used in PCs, they make a lot of them and they're very cheap. Not like stuff with SCSI, which is expensive. Oh, sorry, I bumped the microphone there. Sorry about that, peeps. It feels weird putting these caps on fresh pads like this. Used to having to clean them all up first. It's nice though. $64GB compact flash cards in industrial grade. That's cool. So, The most recent video camera that I've bought, I'm pointing to this one, which is not the most recent video camera I bought. The most recent one I bought was a Canon 4K camera. And one of the things I absolutely adore about that video camera is the fact that it takes 2 SD cards. So it's got 2 SD card slots. And you can run it one of 2 ways. You can either run it so that when one SD card gets full, it'll just automatically start recording on the other one, or you can get it to record on both in tandem. So if you have some sort of technical failure, or if a SD card fails, you've got the second one there. And I run it that way, just as a backup. If I'm recording something, I don't want to have to record it again. Sometimes you can't record it again. Ever tried to do an unboxing a second time around? Pfft, what a pain in the ass. Unboxing is a funny thing, isn't it? It's a thing now. Unboxing. You know, when I do reviews, it's actually generally a requirement when they say, you know, we're going to send you this product for review. It is necessary for you to show unboxing in your review. Okay. I'll show unboxing. Lost wax metal casting. I don't know what that is. What's lost wax metal casting? I actually just love how cheap it is to get SD cards these days. 128 gig ones, high speed 128 gig ones that can record 4K footage. They're just not that expensive. Love it. Isn't it just crazy when we think about data storage? You look at a 128 gigabyte SD, and then I think about when I very first sort of started getting into computers and that, the idea of a 20 megabyte, not a gigabyte, 20 megabyte hard drive costing like $5,000. Just quite extraordinary. Ba-da-ba-da-da. Ba-da-ba-da-da. Remember when floppies held 55K? I remember when floppies were that big. As before I owned a computer, there was only other people's that I was looking at. The very first computer I owned, I think if the floppy drive was an optional extra for it, certainly well beyond my price range. So I was using tapes. I recorded all of my software to tapes back then. Very frustrating when you might do some software and then you go to save it onto tape and then you go back to restore it and you find it's stuffed. I made a little car racing game once that I was really proud of. I was really happy with it. And when I went to go save that to tape, it got stuffed. It takes the wind out of your sails, I'll tell you. I should have saved it onto 2 tapes. You produce the shape you want in wax, coat the wax with some kind of refractory material, burn out the wax, and then pour in molten metal to cast that object. Okay, cool. So Okay. So, how does the 3D resin printing factor into that? I ask that out of pure ignorance. I have no idea. There's this guy that contacts me every now and again because he has like a, I don't know, he's kind of like a business where they get hold of old stuff that he then tries to sell and stuff. Sort of like, I guess they're probably deceased estates and old disused storage units and stuff like that. And he just gets hold of this stuff to sell. And whenever he finds any Mac stuff, he always contacts me to find out if there's any value in it. And I generally give him the value. Sometimes I buy the stuff off him. He's usually looking to just get rid of it, not too expensive and in a hurry. And I happened to notice when I was at his place once that he had like 4 resin printers all running at the one time. And I'm like, oh, wow, what's going on here? And he apparently, as a little side hustle, he 3D prints all these little figurines and sells them. You produce the shape. Okay. PLA leaves ash residue if you don't. If you do. One of the things I'll be really interested in is finding out just how durable the resin stuff is. I mean, I've read everywhere that it's really just ornamental. It's not particularly strong, not particularly hard wearing, though I hear you can get hold of some stronger resins, which I'll be keen to try. I want to know if I can use it to build floppy eject cogs, because to be quite frank, every floppy eject cog I've ever got has not been quite right. Some have been very not quite right, and some have been a little not quite right. And I would love to actually make my own eject cogs with my own design, which I've already designed, by the way. I just haven't had the ability to print it yet. I've got to learn how to work the bloody printer first. Right, what's next? All the caps are on. I'm going to check and see what I have in the way of sockets. Sockets. Okay, what have I got here? I've got not big enough. Too big. Doesn't it look pretty? Doesn't it look pretty? This is something that I have here which may be of interest to some folks. I managed to get a great big bulk lot of these. These are VRAM chips for an SE30. Yeah, it's just great big mass of it. This guy was trying to sell hundreds of them, and I said, I don't need hundreds, but would you be prepared to break them up into, you know, maybe 50 or something like that? And he said, yeah, I can do that. So I just bought a stack. I don't think I have any sockets the right size. So I was just thinking it'd be easier just to use new sockets than old ones, but for the cost of sockets, I don't know, it might be just cheaper to go buy some. Go up to my local J Car up the road. How many pins is this one? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. 20 pin. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 pin. So let's have a look at 20 pin sockets. Get my old keyboard out here, my trusty keyboard. And we'll go here to J-Car. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Whoops. Oh. Mic's died. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is my mic still dead? I've got stuff coming here. Is anyone else having audio problems? I'm good. Sweet. Gregory Brady, hello there. You're here. Okay, all good. Yeah, I've still got all the lights flickering and stuff like that. I'm all doing that. All right. So this is my J car here. I'm going to search up here for was it 20 pin? 20 pin low cost IC socket. 20 pin gold insert machined. 75 cents versus $3.85. What do you reckon? Low cost? Or do I go the fancy one? What do people think? 75 cents or $3.85 each? How do I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the other one I need is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 28 pin. 28 pin. 28 pin. Low cost. Low cost. I feel like low cost feels a lot better, don't you? What is that? What does it say? What does it say? What does it say? What does it say? I'm reading. Oh, I can't see the comments. Machined pin sockets can be an issue with reused chips with solder residue on the legs. Good point. These ones they're coming out of a socket going into a socket. So there's no... But I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go with the low-cost ones. There's nothing wrong with them. They're fine. They're fine. Right, now, I guess... Let's see if I can get the... What do you call it? The crystal oscillator off without too much grief. These are sometimes a little bit tricky to get off, even though they're only 4 pins. I have had a lot of trouble with these in the past. Pin, we've got a pin there. Got a pin there, there, and there. So let's see if we can get the solder out. Oh, this sucks, man. Look at all that heat being pulled away because of the copper. See, that one went fine. That one's fine. That one's good too. Easy. Too easy, mate. Too easy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this up with some new fresh solder. Oopsie. I'm going to try and yank this thing off. Come on. Oh, stop being a dick. Are you saving the PCB? Nah. I mean, I could well end up putting this on my hot air, my hot bed thingy. The thingy that I had in one of my other videos when I was getting all the 2FX stuff off. The heated bed thingy thing. I've got 3 pins loose. It's just 1 pin I'm trying to free here, and it is just not going. It will have none of it. There it is. What if I hot air it? Always the ground pin, yeah. Stupid bloody ground pin. Now you're going to be punished. Ow. Ow! How can it be getting that hot and still not coming out? There we go. Got it. I don't know why. I just have so much trouble getting bloody oscillators out. Stupid. Maybe it's me. Alright. We have the square one up that way, that way, that way. That way, that way. Always a bit of a risk when you're doing these reloaded boards. You're taking parts off an old board, sticking them onto the new one, because let's face it, these parts could be damaged. Whoopsie. Oh dear. This has been a lot easier than the 2FX board. Make no mistake. That 2FX board was not fun. I do not recommend it. And if there is anyone out there who is charging money to build a 2FX board, I hope you're charging a lot. They make sockets for these. Well, I think you can just use a normal dip socket with these. You just have to cut a whole bunch of pins off. There we go. That'll do. That's on enough now that I can use the scopy dope. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of solder on there and then just push it from underside, make sure. Yep, there we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and yeah. All right. So I feel that at this stage, I can stick the SCSI connector on. So I have plenty of those. Where will I find those? I will find those in my blue SCSI V1 container. There we go. Look at that. Nice, nice. It's very nice. It's beautiful. It's nice. Yes. Is that premature? Should I put these things on first? I sort of feel like putting a thing with plastic on early is like a really dumb move, so I don't think I will do that. Right, so... Oh, I suppose I can stick the VRAM chips in because I've got surplus of these. Let's do that. Eh? I can take the old ones off at some stage, but, you know... Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Still got heaps. 41264. 41264. These is -15, so 150 nanosecond. And where's pin 1? Oh, there it is. These are NEC. I can't remember what the other brand is, but on the SE30s, you either have NEC VRAM or you have one other brand. I can't remember what the other brand is. And the brand you have dictates what your computer looks like in CMAC mode. So it will either be, I think it's vertical lines, but it might be horizontal lines. Or that zebra pattern that you get, that weird zebra pattern. That sort of dithery sort of one. And it's the chips that you have that dictate what that pattern looks like. Oh God, I'm going to need the microscope. My eyes aren't so good. There we go. In place. Does this PCB need the VRAM bodge wire? I bloody hope not. What's all that about? And this did come from Colin from This Does Not Compute. So I expect nothing but perfection from him. Did anyone watch Colin's video on the, what was it called? Pen light? The little device that Apple never ended up properly making, but, well, never releasing, but making. It's a great video. It was really well researched. I mean, it's like watching a television documentary. Really high quality stuff. All the interviews from old Apple staff and stuff. Yeah, I mean, sort of Colin, you know, he can do some amazing stuff, you know. I mean, it's always a risk, okay? If you're doing YouTubing, right, and you can sit there and you can spend weeks on a single video, or months even, doing research, collecting footage, getting interviews, all this sort of stuff, and then you can end up with something that gets a fraction of the amount of views than a video that you might throw together in a matter of minutes. And it's always that sort of risk on YouTube. You can sort of say, look, you know, I can make a really good quality video here, but is it going to translate to views? You just never know. I've had videos of mine that have done incredibly well where I've spent no time on them and I've just expected them to not do particularly well at all, and then they've done really well, and you sort of think, that's not fair. I didn't try hard on that one. Hope I got these around the right way. I didn't double check. You'll notice that I don't ever bend pins, or very rarely bend pins when I put them into a board, because I hate it. Being someone who often has to remove components, there's nothing I hate more than bent pins. There we go. So, I think we'll probably call it a day at this point. I'm just going to have a quick little check here. We'll have a look and see what needs to be done. Still needs to be done. And then I think I'll probably move on. I've been going for over 2 hours. So I think that's enough, don't you reckon? You are old when you can tell a triode from a diode. I'm just old anyway. Yeah. Anyhow. Right, so what remains for this? I need to... One of the things I could potentially do with this board is I could go and solder on some through-hole PLCC sockets here, and then actually have these ROMs permanently mounted into sockets on the board there, which will of course mean they're all nice and secure. The alternative is I put in the ROM slot. I'd probably be inclined to put in the ROM slot. I think for my purposes it'll be a little bit easier. I've got these chips here. I'm not going to put these in until I have sockets in place. I am going to do them with sockets. I do have sound chips that I could just plonk those in, but I don't have that many. So I am going to reuse the sound chips off the board, so I've got to get them out. And then we've got these two here, which I'm not even sure what they are. Oh, they're resistor nets. I think they're for, I don't know, they're for serial ports or something. So I've got to get a lot of these through-hole components off this, not least of which the CPU. And of course, look at how many pins that has. What a pain in the butt that's going to be. So for removal, oh, and there's that socket. Yeah, that socket that I meant. Yeah, that socket. So I'm going to go buy a new socket of that. I'm going to go buy sockets for these. I am going to. I've got to remove this, of course, and I've got little J11 there for the speaker. I've got to get him off as well. I am probably going to put this on my heated hot plate thingy, to get the RAM slots off, to get the ROM slot off, the PDS slot off. I think I've got spare real-time clock chips, but I might try and reuse that one. So, yeah, we've got a... and the floppy slot. I don't think I have spare floppies. I probably won't ever even use a floppy drive with this, but never mind. So there's still a little bit of work to do, in particular getting these through-hole things off. But we're not that far away from being able to test it. What do we need to do in order to test it? If we want to check to see it chimes, I'm going to have to connect the jumper onto J1 so that I can connect the speaker to it. I am going to need to stick my real-time clock on here, wherever he goes. There we go, Y1, and my real-time clock chip on there. Need the CPU in place. We need these chips in place. Need the power connector in place. We don't really need these caps to run it, but I'll put them in anyway. Need the sound chips. Definitely need the sound chips. Probably don't need these unless I want to test the serial ports. And that one for the floppy port, I think. If I want to boot off something, I'll need to connect the SCSI port, whether it be this one here or this one here. I'll probably maybe do this one, this SCSI port here, because I'll probably test with the external blue SCSI. And then, yeah, got to get the ROM, and I've got to get at least 4 RAM slots in here to be able to test it. So ROM, RAM, CPU, these chips. Don't need the PDS for testing. I want to have the real-time clock and the oscillator in. Power connector, sound chips. Whatever that is. Oh, that's just the filtery thing, I think. Yeah. And plug for the speaker. So, yeah, I'm not really that far away from being able to test it. See if I get a chime and all that sort of stuff. So that's quite good. Alrighty, so I think what I'll do is I'll wrap it up now. Just a reminder to everyone, Stereo ASM Flux, links in the description. T-shirts, QWERTY T-shirts, links in the description. And what else? Kaiweets multimeter, links in the description. So All right, let's jump across it. Let's say hello to the chickens first. Hello, chickens. Looks nice outside, doesn't it? Oh, my little heater's gone off. Gas ran out. Okay, well, okay, I don't have light streaming in on me now, which is good. The sun's moved. That's much nicer. Yes, don't forget to please... Go to press the button.
Smash that like button.
All right, do the normal stuff here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate it. I like having the company while I'm doing this stuff. I hope this was reasonably entertaining. If you're watching this on the replay, please jump into the comments and say hi. I'm not I probably will do another stream of building this. I sort of feel like there's still. I would love for people to watch this and be able to see me try and, start it up for the first time. I think that would be a bit of fun. Hope everyone has a really good time. Once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending time here. Thanks for pressing the like button and all that sort of stuff. Plenty of stuff coming. I believe, hopefully the next thing I'll have coming out, which will be very soon, will be another thermal camera review. And then, of course, I've got a 3D printer review and another multimeter review coming out as well. So it's going to be reviews galore for a little while. And then I've got a whole stack of other stuff to do as well. So thanks again. Hope to see you at the next one. Have a good time. And thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.